He's only been president for 6 months, but already national polls are showing a near exact split on the question of whether Donald Trump should be impeached. And in Congress, the chaotic past couple of weeks have boosted the amount of anxiety and disapproval Republicans are expressing about the president. To be sure, a critical mass of GOP lawmakers is still a very long way away from turning on the president. And, as a practical matter, at least until the next election, the president's job will only be put in jeopardy if a big bloc of Republicans abandons him. But still, the word impeachment is being tossed around so frequently now, especially by Trump's antagonists, that it makes sense to take a look at how the system works. The most important single takeaway is this: impeachment is almost entirely a political process, not a legal one. An impeachable offense is whatever 218 House members says it is. And the grounds for removal from office are whatever 67 senators say they are. In other words, it's all about where the votes are at the Capitol, and not at all about what the law books say. The Constitution is what gives Congress this wide latitude. Article 2 says that impeachable offenses include treason and bribery, which are pretty straightforward, but also, quote, other high crimes and misdemeanors, which the framers didn't define at all. It's been up to the members of Congress to decide, case by case, whether those should be only violations of the criminal code or could include abuses of power or behavior demeaning to the presidency. The result has been very different rationales for the 3 sustained presidential impeachment drives. The one that Andrew Johnson narrowly survived back in 1868 was really the climax of a power struggle between him and Congress over Reconstruction in the South after the Civil War. Richard Nixon resigned in 1974 in the face of overwhelming evidence of criminal obstruction of justice and abuses of power during Watergate. But Bill Clinton faced much narrower charges in 1999, all about his efforts to hide his sexual affair with a former White House intern. So how would an impeachment happen now? Any member of the House can introduce a resolution proposing impeachment, and 2 Democrats did file one in July, accusing Trump of obstruction of justice related to his dismissal of FBI Director Jim Comey. A majority of the Judiciary Committee would propose a formal inquiry. A majority of the entire House would vote to give the panel permission for that inquiry. And after gathering evidence, the committee would vote to forward back to the whole House 1 or more proposed articles of impeachment, each one akin to a count of an indictment, alleging a misdeed and giving evidence proving it. Finally, a majority of the House would need to endorse 1 or more of those articles in order for the president to be actually impeached. During every step in the House, under the current partisan power structure, some Republicans would have to vote yes, along with most, if not all, the Democrats. But the need for bipartisanship would get even greater in the Senate, where a 2/3 majority is required after a trial to convict the president and remove him from office, at which point the vice president would become president. At the trial, the prosecutors would be members of the House, who were known as the managers. The defense team would be lawyers chosen by the president. The senators themselves would serve as the jury after taking an oath to render, quote, impartial justice according to the Constitution and the laws. Presiding would be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, although, unlike at a regular trial, the senators and not the judge would decide who gets to testify and what evidence gets admitted. And no standard is set for the jurors to follow in settling on a conviction or acquittal. Each senator decides for themselves, for whatever reason they choose. Johnson, Nixon, and Clinton were all brought low by Congresses controlled by their opposite party. Trump and today's House and Senate majorities, in contrast, are all Republicans. So if the Hill GOP turns against its own president and provides the pivotal votes against him, that will mean Republicans have concluded that Trump's behavior is as much a political liability for them as it is representative of a legal or ethical wrongdoing.